Hey, praise God, friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this 30-day devotional towards better relationships. I am convinced that 2014 is the year to do relationships better. And I have just been blessed by so many of the men and women that I admire and respect that are doing things at tremendous levels who have just joined me to talk about my new book called The People Factor. And hey, listen, if you haven't picked up The People Factor yet, you got to make sure that you get it, because I know that it is going to change your life and revolutionize how you do relationships. But let me tell you something. On today, we've got a giant of the faith, a gentleman who is not only a big influence in my life, but he's also a brother by way of fraternity. But he is even more valuable to the body of Christ, not only in Nashville, where he leads a tremendous church, the Mount Zion Church, with 20,000+ members, but he is also the presiding bishop-elect of the Full Gospel Fellowship. And so I am honored to have Bishop Dr. Joseph Walker to be with me on today. Thank you, Bishop, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here.
Thank you so much, Pastor Moody. I am so excited to be here, and I'm excited about this great book that the Lord has given to you, man. It is just one of those pieces that's hard to put down.
Oh, man. Well, that sounds good, man, and I'm glad to hear that. You know, let's talk about chapter 14.
Yeah.
And chapter 14 is near and dear to my heart, because one of the things that I realized is that great relationships don't happen overnight. They don't come about in a microwave. In many ways, it kind of takes a crock pot kind of process. And that every healthy relationship will go through different phases, different seasons, different places in the relationship. And one of the greatest examples of that is what transpires between Elijah and Elisha. Chapter 14 is all about that. It's about the journey that really matters, what that process is of great relationships, and what it means to individuals. And I thought that you were probably the best person to even speak to that. Your faithfulness to Bishop Paul Morton, how God has elevated you. I was even able to look at the transferring of the mantle. And I recall that one of the things that you asked for when Bishop Morton laid his hands on you was a double portion. And I think the world saw in many ways that it was an Elijah and an Elisha moment. And I think you've been there, you've been with him, you've been faithful, and you guys have a great relationship. And in many circles, a relationship that's kind of unheard of. So let's talk about it. I mean, that journey and that process, and what the book meant for you and how it spoke to you, and maybe even your life and leadership.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, well, the book is deeply personal, particularly in chapter 14. You're absolutely right. And of course, I'm one who values relationships. And I think the thing that really impressed me initially about chapter 14, I think, was the transparency that you shared regarding people who want to connect with you and who want more than you're willing to give, and oftentimes disengage from you because they can't necessarily get access. And I think it's important, particularly now with what God is doing in my life, and as I've watched over the years, how people do connect with you. They have a variety of motives, etc. Yeah. But I've learned, as you have, people have to earn access, earn that trust. And it's when people are able to go through, as you mentioned, those difficult seasons. The healthy part of the relationship is watching people go through various seasons with you. Bishop Morton and I been with him so long. I've watched him go through mountains and valleys, but I recognize, as you indicate in the book, that you learn some of the greatest lessons in adverse times which are not necessarily pleasant. But also, I think what was very significant for me was the idea that when Elisha was found, or about to be released, rather, into his destiny as relates to Elijah, he was found working. He didn't mind getting dirty. He was behind the scenes. He was okay. He was really cool with being in the background. And I think for me, that's been something that I've been really sharing with leaders all around the country. You know, how important it is to serve your way. Oftentimes people want that platform instantly, but they don't realize that God finds us. As you mentioned, God finds Moses on the backside of the desert. It's these places where you really have to work and develop a work ethic of serving. And the other thing, you talk about what happened in Full Gospel was so, providential. I think that when I asked Bishop Morton for a double portion. I prayed about that, and God said, "This is what you need because you have walked with Him." And I love how you delineated between the difference between a person just dying, or a person actually living a life and transitioning to another dimensional season. The fact that I've walked with Bishop Morton throughout. I'm going to be there when the Lord elevates him. I'm going to be there. That whole point is a journey. That's about, stick-to-itiveness. That's about hanging in there and being there. And of course, I, even think about you and my relationship. You as a spiritual son, you have been so incredibly faithful. You're not writing about something that's theoretical. It's something you live every day. I've seen you walk alongside me in good times and in bad, and been there and learn lessons and glean from that how we went through what we went through. And that to me was such a blessing. You represent everything you've written in this book. That's why our relationship is healthy, because it is based on truth, integrity. It's based on all those things that you talk about. So I'm just incredibly excited about really going back and assessing. This book calls you to reassess relationships in your life. And that's the takeaway for me. It makes you really go back and say, wow, why are you in my life? Why are you there? What are you, and that's important. And I really appreciate how you dealt with it.
Wow. Well, Bishop, man, I'm thankful that you even took the time to just be transparent and to share your heart, because a lot of individuals look at where people are and what they've accomplished in life. And I think one of the failures is they undervalue what it took to get there.
Right.
And, you've got a notoriety and a fame and a favor on your life that is world renowned. But I think what people miss is that it's part of the success that I believe, and part of the favor on God's, part of the favor on your life from God in a very similar way, kind of like Elisha, is because of how you've been faithful down through the years with the other men that God's placed in your life that you served, like Bishop Morton. I think it's no coincidence that Elisha gets a double portion, that he's able to do more because he was faithful to the one who was originally anointed. And I think that level of relationship, I think is significant, but I think that God is pleased with that. We live in a day now where people get rid of people as quickly as, throwing out garbage. I mean, the notion of lasting and hanging in there, through the Gilgals and through the Bethels and through, those places that relationships go through. To me, that's almost unheard of in this day and time, because this, the minute sometimes you have to deal with someone or cut their flesh or hold them accountable, they want to just leave immediately.
Right. And it is. I think you're absolutely right. It's a different breed, I think, of mindset. People are coming along today not really understanding what it takes. People now, we have a generation who's going to inherit things that many of us would never inherit. We had to kind of come following trail mules. I mean, the truth is, we got dirty following mules, and it's important to help them understand that this did not happen overnight. This was about being faithful. It was about being able to handle flesh being cut. It was about, going by Gilgal. It was about those kinds of moments when, Bishop Morton could pick up the phone and tell me the truth and be honest about me and what I need to do and my past in Louisiana. It's about knowing that someone's praying for you, knowing, that you don't have to have walls like a Jericho. You don't have to, you can come, the walls can come down. You don't have to be guarded like that, and be transparent. I think that's what makes healthy relationships. And I think for me, I think one of the takeaways, the caveats in the book is helping people be delivered from unhealthy, dysfunctional relationship under the guise of being connected. To me, it's about, you don't want to be just connected to something just for the sake of being connected. That relationship must be healthy, and it must be willing to go on a journey, and a similar journey, as you indicated, of Elijah and Elisha. It is quite clear. It is a similar journey. Same kinds of nuances, same kinds of challenges, same kinds of joys, but to the end, it ultimately proves successful. And I think that's what I've been so blessed by reading the book. And man, it's a powerful, powerful chapter. I can live right there. I mean, you got the right one for chapter 14. You should have put my picture next to that one. Here's chapter 14.
Wow. Well, listen, if you guys haven't been blessed, I don't know what's wrong, because Bishop has been speaking the truth. and not just in theory, but even just giving us a glimpse into his life. And thank you for that, Bishop. Listen, we've been taking time and talking about my brand new book called The People Factor. If you haven't gotten it, make sure you get it. Drop what you're doing. Go out to Amazon, download it on your Kindle, or go to Barnes & Noble. It's available everywhere books are sold. It is time to do relationships better. And I really believe that 2014 is the year to do it, but I believe that God has something better in store for you when you learn how to do relationships better. My book, The People Factor, is your guide. It's really your roadmap in order to do it. So make sure that you stay tuned, because we got more coming in the days to follow with this 30-day devotional. Thanks for being with us. Take care.